Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the LaunchDay Shorts podcast. I'm your host, Dean Cvetkoski, a.k.a. WhoDean. And today in studio, we have a lovely guest. Honestly, she appears very well. I think she's very well. Tilly, hey, how you going?
Hey Dean, how are you?
I am brilliant for a Monday afternoon. I am absolutely brilliant. How's your day been so far? Pretty good?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been busy, but good busy. Off to a right start for a Monday and making sure I do the scary things first. So always do the hard things on Monday and then the rest of the week should be a little bit better.
I love that. I love that. I noticed you tagged us on your stories earlier as well, and you went out for a bit of a walk. And what's your dog's name, by the way?
Oh, Hunter. Very
Hunter.
original, but he is a Huntaway cross Kelpie, so of course his name is Hunter.
Nice, and I love kelpies too. Right, I used to own a kelpie myself. The best dogs are the smartest dogs on planet Earth. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh yeah, he's too smart for his own good though. Like he doesn't care for tricks or anything. All he cares about is the ball and swimming. And I'm like,
Yes.
hey, cool. Not
Yes,
affectionate at all.
that
Cuddle
was
me.
honestly, I remember having like these moments where I was like, trying to reward her, for something, and I put a ball in one hand and chicken mince in the other, and then she was just like straight to the ball. She was like, I don't give a shit about the food,
Yeah, they don't. Like he
give me
wants
the damn
food,
ball.
but he's like swim or ball. That's it. Like I'm like,
Oh, it's
cool.
brilliant. That's so good. I love that. I love that. Well, look, Tilly, you and I, we've had some conversations, in the past and in passing, and the thing is that most people that are going to be watching this interview have no idea. Now, I don't want to go and tell them. I want them to hear it from your mouth, right? So, do you want to introduce people to who you are and what it is exactly that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dean. So obviously I'm born and bred in Perth, proudly living in Perth. I love Perth. I started a company 4 years ago. So
Mm,
I specialize in health and wellness. I actually dropped out of uni after a year and a half to become a personal trainer. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I like this way better. I only went to uni because I thought like everyone had to go to uni. So this would be like
mm,
4 years ago now, 5 years ago. And it was like school, ATAR, uni. And so
mm,
what I did is I was like, I thought about it and I thought long and hard. And I was like, to be honest, I was studying diet, like to be a dietitian. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be in a room. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I always felt like conflicted when I went to uni. I was like, I really don't enjoy this. And then I
mm,
dropped out of uni because I was starting to be a personal trainer at the same time as you do.
mm, mm.
And
Yeah.
then I started my own business at 19 with no idea what I was doing. And then I
Mm,
really just got into health and wellness. I'd always been into the gym since I was 15. But of
mm,
course, back in 2015, there was nothing really, it wasn't really that popular yet. It was all YouTube and bodybuilding.com. And
mm,
so I did everything wrong. And so now part of my business is to help people do it the right way the first time instead of having to go through a million different processes, fad diets, and trends like I did and completely
mm.
ruin my health to come full circle and like be the healthiest I've ever been now. So that's what we specialize in. And that's how I built my company and really like tailored it to that niche of, wanting to be your healthiest and best version the right
Mm.
way the first time as well.
I love that. I love that. And that's, such a good cause to get behind, right? Because it's such a big problem that a lot of people have. And they, oftentimes it's not spoken about very often. I
Mm,
think people kind of just think it's part of the process when really it can be managed. You know what I mean?
yeah, no,
And
100%. Yeah.
I'm the same, right? Like, because the thing is for me, like I'm pretty bad myself, if I'm, being completely honest with you. um, I burn out quite often, and I think that has a lot to do with my own sort of medical conditions, having a stroke, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I don't tend to let that hold me back, but sometimes it's a real fucking reality, right? It hits you in the
Yeah.
head, and you're like, okay, you need to
Yeah.
slow
It's
down.
fear.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, what happened to you, right? Like you talk about, like you had burnout and stuff like that, but I mean, hey, like what exactly happened? Like what was the situation when you burnt out? What were you feeling? Where were you? What were you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like it started back in 2016. So when I was
Mm,
16 years old, I went to Cambodia. I got food poisoning and I came back and I
mm.
was like never the same. So I got food poisoning. I was really sick. My whole body was aching. I got tested as a 16-year-old.
Hey, yes, you. I'm talking to you, and I know it looks like the interview, but it's actually not. We're taking a really quick, short break so that way you can hear me out. I really want you to hear me out here. If you are a business owner, you are building your personal brand. I mean, you could be anyone. You could be a real estate agent, you could be an astronaut, an IT professional. It really doesn't matter who you are and where you fit into the world. This interview is great for you. If you're really struggling to make content, and let's face it, right? When we get our phones out and we're like, taking selfies and doing videos that way, it just comes across as inauthentic. And the other side of that as well is the fact that it's just so hard to come up with ideas of what kind of content to create. And this is where our interviews absolutely bring a powerhouse and an arsenal of, basically a war chest in terms of your organic content marketing that you're creating. We create the TikToks and Reels for you. Here's the thing. I've got some great news. The great news is that this interview is completely free. We boost your SEO on Google because we go and feature these videos like the one you're watching on YouTube. And not only that, but we also give you free content to post to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and all the rest of it as well. So if you haven't already, in the description down below is a link to Linktree, where you'll see the opportunity for you to book your very own interview and get free content for your personal brand or your business as well. I'll see you on the other side of the screen.
For rheumatoid arthritis, and I was like, no way. Like, man, I'm 16. This can't be correct. Obviously, I was just going to doctor after doctor. And then
Mm,
I watched a documentary and it was talking all about veganism. And so when I was 17, I was a vegan for like 13 months
mm,
because obviously the documentary said like, oh, this will cure everything, blah, 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 blah. Okay, today I'm literally like the biggest animal product eater ever, so I'm not a vegan. Sorry if you're listening. This is your time to shut off. But yeah, so when I was 17, I obviously just watched a Netflix documentary and I was like, that's it, veganism will cure everything, because I'd been to doctor after doctor after doctor and I was constantly aching, like I never really slept through high school as well. Like I feel like I was like always like those people that just like pass out straight away. I'm not that person. So I used to literally like
mm,
analyze everything and be like, what did I say? Blah, 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 blah. What conversations did I have? What do I need to do? So yeah, like I was never sleeping. And so
mm,
from 17, I obviously became a vegan and then I stopped that because I was like, honestly, I just crave a steak. Then it got worse. I then got into keto. And at one point, before I stopped being a vegan, I was a keto vegan. And of course, that was meant to fix everything. And then I also was eating 1,200 calories, which is like nothing, because that was a magic number on social media. Bread was the devil. Everyone was like thigh gap. It was like the year of the thigh gap. And it was just skinny. 1,200 calories, lettuce, carbs, the devil.
drop
So then I
500 squats at the gym. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
legit, like just body weight, everything, but a million reps. And so then I kind of got into that. Then I was like, nah, this cannot be right. And I
Mm,
started eating meat again. And then I got into the gym, but I also got into weightlifting and I got into like classes as well. Not like group fitness, but like kind of like small group classes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I like obviously wanted to avoid any responsibilities I had as an 18-year-old at uni who didn't like it. So I went to the gym in the morning and every night. So I used to train 10 times a week. Like that is obviously not recommended at all. I was completely
Wow.
overtraining because I did not want to think about my life. So I was like, yep, that's cool. Like, I don't like uni, but let's just go to the gym. And I was a support worker as well. So my background from being in high school was I became a mental health support worker and a normal support worker as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like dealing with like a heavy job like that, studying full time, working, and then gym twice a week. And I was like, so that's kind of obviously where the burning out started back in
Mm.
2018. And then I did that for like a year. Then my friend was like, "You'd make a really good PT." And I was like, "You think?" And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And then
Yeah,
that's
you're
how I
going to the
actually,
gym 10 times a week,
yeah.
sure. Like,
She was
of
like, "You have
course
a
you'd be a good fit.
personality for it." Yeah. And so I became a personal trainer. And then like I said earlier, I dropped out of uni and I was like, that's it. And then obviously there was no really paid per hour jobs back then. So it was like you
Mm.
pay rent and you start your own business and that's it. So
Mm.
what I did then is instead of like taking a break between uni and becoming a PT and starting my own business and still doing all these crazy diets, I started my own business at 19. And honestly,
Mm.
like 2019 was such a bad year for me. Like personal life just blew up. And so that was added stress as well. And then I thought,
Mm.
okay, let's not deal with that. Let's just start a business. So obviously, with no personal experience at all, like running a business, literally the person that onboarded me and was meant to help me like start my business at the gym I worked at, they then left 2 weeks earlier, so later, and then I was literally left for myself. So it was like run on the ground.
Yeah,
Luckily, I
wow.
worked with really good people, but still, I was like, no sales experience, and you're selling yourself as a PT. So it's like, I was terrible at the start. I was like, "Oh, do you want PT?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Cool." So yeah, like obviously I was driving 45 minutes to this gym every morning at 3:50 a.m.,
Oh,
staying
God.
all day long, like just trying to sell people with no process, hardly knew how to run a business. And honestly, I just made it work because I had to, because I was like, dude, I'm paying $300 for like rent a week. So there was massive stress there. And I actually remember at the end of 2019, I took 2 weeks off over Christmas, and it was the sickest I had ever been because I actually finally stopped. And my body was like, dude, you
Recovery
need to
mode, right?
rest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so obviously then it was 2020 and I was forced to rest, and, COVID shut everything down. So I was forced to rest and work from home. I was actually running like Zoom classes in my lounge room for my clients just to keep them engaged and boost morale. And then, yeah, 2020, I was like still not well. 2021, because between that period, I was doing, have you heard of If It Fits Your Macros?
No.
So it's this type of tracking calories and macros using like
Mm.
MyFitnessPal, for example, which is where you literally just eat whatever you want as long as it fits your macros. But
Right.
like it was just another diet trend. Instead of looking like what I was actually putting in my body, I was like, oh, if it fits my calories and protein, that's fine. And so again, still not like 100% dieting well. And then
Mm.
after COVID, I really got into health and wellness because obviously I was sitting at home. And then that's when gut health kind of became popular and trending. So I really started reading books about that and got into that. And then especially because at the end of 2020, oh sorry, 2019, before I got really sick, I was like experiencing like pain in my stomach all day long at work, waking up sick, still going to work, and just like obviously not sleeping. And I honestly went to like every doctor, specialist doctor, blood tests. I even tried Chinese medicine and herbs, acupuncture, and literally
Mm.
nobody would tell me what was going on or what was wrong with me. And I was like, dude,
Mm.
I'm like 19, 20. Like, I feel 80 years old. Like, this cannot be, like, when is this coming to an end? When am I going
Preaching
to
to the
feel?
choir here. I'm
I was
hearing
like,
you.
when am I going to feel like the energy of a 20-year-old? I was like, seriously, this can't be my youth. And yeah, so then I honestly, after COVID, I really got into health and wellness and gut health. And I like started checking all the ingredients, everything I was eating, like really learning about like what was processed, going back to the basics, like quality meat, quality vegetables, and just eating less, because obviously it's so like eating less packaged stuff is what I mean by that. But yeah, so really that's how I ended up here. And then I really got into my health and wellness. And then in 2023, so I spent all of last year fixing my gut health. So I got my own bloods done, my blood analysis, using proper supplementation and proper guidance,
Mm.
like relearning everything I knew. Because, of course, when gut health became trending, anything that said gut health, I was like, oh yeah, that's gotta be good. And then you look at the back and it's like seed oils and it's just marketing. So yeah, I
Mm,
got really like educated and aware on what I was actually putting in my body. And
mm,
then honestly, I just had to really learn how to set boundaries with myself, with people, and like carving out time to just say no to stuff as well, because I was like, oh, it's good to be busy. It's not if you're not productive and you're not resting. So yeah,
mm.
that's how I got into my niche of busy business owners and helping them like be their best selves without burning out and doing everything I did beforehand.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And like that sounds like you probably need like another hour and a half, 2 hour interview to actually go into more detail about each and every moment that you faced burnout, right?
It was a
And
whirlwind.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely a follow up conversation that's going to be needed to be had, you know. But I'm just thinking about it now, like everything that you're saying, like. And I think it's not just me. I think there's going to be so many other people that are out there that are listening to this and going, yeah, you know, absolutely, Telly. I totally get exactly what you're saying because that's
Yeah.
literally for me right now. I've been looking at gut health. I know since we met and we
Yeah.
spoke, and you've told me the same thing. You know, when we initially spoke, and you know, it does make a big difference. I think you know it's crazy to think how what you put into your stomach can affect your entire body. You know,
100%. Yeah.
that
Like,
stuff blows my mind, honestly.
it's amazing. And I listened to this, I heard this quote the other day and it said, if you were given one car for the rest of your life, like your if you wanted your dream car, but the catch was that you had to have it for the rest of your life, you would like service it every time it needed a service, check the hood constantly, like put the best fuel in it and everything like that. And then they were like, that's your body. Like that's your
Mm,
one vehicle for life. I was like, that is so true. And like think about what some people and like, what we do to do to our bodies. Like it's ridiculous. Like, yeah.
yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with you, right? And I just like because this is a touchy subject for me, right? Because I went last year, I went through a nightmare. You know, even when we met at Empire Mastery, I think if you
Yeah.
remember, we were in that VIP room,
Yeah, I
and
remember.
I was like just about ready to pass out. You know what I mean? But like, you know, the David Goggins side of me is like, nah, keep going. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling.
Same.
You know?
That's what I mean. You have to have boundaries around yourself as well. And that's something I struggle with so much because I'm so hard on myself. I'm like, nah, Tilly, you're being a little bitch. Like, get up out of bed. And so I've really had to learn, okay, when am I actually being like a loser and not doing what I want to like said I'm going to do, and when do I need to rest? Because like the amount of times I haven't rested and ignored my body, like my body will force me to rest. Like even this
Mm,
last week I've been so unwell, and it's because at the end of last year I just like hustled so hard to like move out of my business from like being in a job to like being a number one to being a number two, and obviously that has had a big effect, but now
mm.
like it's laying the foundation to like win back my health and everything
Oh,
like that I
amen.
really need.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing for me too, right? Is because I experienced burnout so frequently.
Yeah.
You can even ask Linda after this, right? Like there were moments where I was at the office and then I was like wobbly, like I was going to fall over and I had to grab a chair or grab a table and sit down. And, you know, because I was pushing myself. Like I said, you know, you
Yeah.
listen to David Goggins and you hear about the physical challenges and training your mind to, you know, to have calluses over
Mm,
certain things. And the thing is, I think there's a bit more of, you know, there's a bit more to David Goggins' message, for example, than just pushing yourself so bloody hard that you end up falling over.
yeah,
You know
100%.
what I
Yeah.
mean? I think there's a lot more to it than just pushing yourself so hard to the point of breaking. You know?
Yeah. Like I
So
actually
yeah,
I saw him speak 2022, maybe
yeah,
2023. And he actually said like my message is not like push yourself so hard that you're dying in a sauna or you're gonna pass out. Like push yourself to your level of like 100%, because obviously he says like we're only using 40%. Like, he's not saying go and like push yourself to your dying, because he even talks about it in multiple podcasts that he like stretches to like 2 hours a day. Like, he has like heaps of like what he calls like mental stops or mental backs, I think they're called. And he like
Mm.
literally takes them to just like chill and not do anything. Because
Mm-mm-mm.
like what I found I was doing, and you're probably similar, Dean, is I was going like bang, 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 what's next? And then I'd be at the end of the day and I'd be like, what did I just do? What conversations did I have? And I actually like didn't know where I was going, especially working with people. Like, I used to book like 10 sessions as a personal trainer back to the point I was just running off adrenaline, running between
Mm-hmm.
people. And then when I stopped, I was like, holy crap, what just happened? Like,
And the hardest challenge, right? And I swear I didn't prepare this. We didn't plan this conversation. It just happened to be something I prepared earlier. But my brain looks a little like this, right? So like at the end of that day, not only do I feel really fucking exhausted, but my
yeah,
brain looks like that. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So there's still so much going on, and it's so hard to manage and maintain it, right? I drew that to try and explain to a new employee, this is how my brain works, and
Yeah, no, 100%.
this is your brain, this is my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's what I mean. And it becomes really like it almost becomes isolating, because like I was giving my clients and my business everything. I'd walk in the door and I would like have to like I would drive home, sit in the car for like 10 minutes of silence, and I would drive
Mm,
home in silence because I was like, I just need to stop. And then I would like get in the door, someone would try to talk to me and I'd be like, please just don't talk to me.
piss off.
And
Yeah.
like it's terrible, because like obviously we're the worst to the people that are closest to us. But
Mm,
like that's obviously what Aaron talks about all the time. He says like, why would I give my best to the people that just pay me? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so true. Like, yeah, like really made me think about how I was walking through the door and all of that as well. Because like unfortunately when you're just trying to survive, and that's what it is, it's survival, like,
mm.
day by day, like you literally don't have the mental capacity to be like, oh, I gotta check in on this person, this person, and this person. So yeah, like I'm so glad I've learned how to set boundaries around like all of it now, and really like focused on streamlining as well, and making sure like my health and how I am is looked after, so that I can show up as the best for my business, but then also my friends, my family, everything else that is important to me as well, or else it just becomes miserable.
What would be your advice to someone like me? Sometimes, like, and that event, right, in the VIP room is a good example, right?
Yeah.
Is where, if you were to give advice to people listening now, like, where do you draw the line? Like, do you keep pushing yourself? Like, at what point do you draw the line and say, no, okay, I gotta. Because the thing is, there's a lot of, like, for me, there was a lot of networking opportunities. There was a lot
Yeah.
of conversations, especially jumping on the microphone after a Q&A. There was a lot of people that wanted to talk to me about that.
Yeah.
And I was struggling really bad. Like, I tell you now, I like that. I think it was on the Friday night. I had an anxiety attack for the first time
Oh, I remember you
since
saying
I
that
had a
actually.
stroke.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. Like, what's your advice to people? Like, where do you draw the line in those situations?
So I think the biggest thing is I have learned is remembering to breathe.
Mm,
Like, that sounds so simple, but like the amount of times that I literally would just like, you know what I mean, run off adrenaline, especially when we're in those networking events, we're at those like 17-hour conferences, and it's just like adrenaline and no idea and all of this, and every day is like, whoa. Like when I feel myself like literally not sleeping, that's when I know like, okay, like something's gonna give really soon. Like as soon as my sleep becomes bad, that's when I know. And like that's when I have to take small breaks, like even like mental breaks, just like to breathe. And like I just do it, like I can let you do it anywhere. It's like box breathing, or making sure that you just breathing through your nose really deeply, and then just like relaxing, like just giving yourself a chance to be like, okay, like where am I? Instead of like being up here or like thinking of a million other things as well, is what I learned. Because like one of the biggest things I had to learn, even to like fix my gut health, was to eat properly. And you
mm,
think, what? And then like it's something we've ruined because we're always like this. It's like when you want to eat properly and how it's actually good for you to eat, it's like breathing at the same time. Like put your knife and fork down. Like be outside if you can, or literally be in an environment where you're not staring at a screen. Because obviously what we've become is like people that sit on the couch, have dinner, watch Netflix,
Mm,
go to bed, or like watch something whilst you're eating on YouTube, or work whilst you're eating, which I'm guilty of doing sometimes. But like
mm,
I had a really bad habit of like literally like on the run, always eating and walking around or doing stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder. Like my body can't properly digest. I'm already
mm,
stressing it out too much. But yeah, just like taking small moments to actually like, okay, where am I at? Even like whilst you're eating, driving somewhere. Or like I really enjoy walking, like nature. Like I can't meditate to save my life. Like I've always tried. And
yeah.
then I'm like, oh, and like I have tried forever, and everyone's like, it's amazing. But like, walking to me is a form of meditation. And so
Mm,
when I go out and I walk my dog, I make sure I have my phone on do not disturb or airplane mode if I can. And then I make sure I don't have any headphones in, because I
mm,
used to listen to like a bunch of podcasts, but then like that was just giving me more ideas and adding more to my plate. Like I love podcasts, but I was like, I make sure like I now have that silence in nature. And that's when I do my best thinking as well. So just
mm,
having backstops for yourself, even if you have a massive schedule, just like making sure like you have like one time where you can have a mental break
mm.
is what I would advise.
What would you have, like, coming to a conclusion of our chat, right? What would you say, people that are watching and listening, what would you say their first steps are to getting on top of, just some simple ones? We don't have to go into too much detail,
Mm.
just some very simple, top level things you can do right now that are going to improve your health, before you start needing to seek professional advice from someone like you, Tilly.
100%. So like your lowest hanging fruits are your sleep. Like it is like I cannot relate to people that are like, I sleep 3 hours, sleep when I'm dead, blah blah blah. No, like the if I sleep less than 6 hours max, like I try for 7 to 8, I am a potato. I'm useless. I'm yawning all the time. Like obviously, like I have to show up as a health professional, so I'm not going to be like yawning and look like I'm half dead.
You got to put
Like
your money where your mouth is,
yeah, 100%. So like sleep 100%. Like 7 to 8 hours, and have proper boundaries around when you sleep. So when you're waking up, when you're going to bed, like sleep is number one. Also going in the sun. Like so every time I eat a meal, if I can, I go in the sun, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I try and watch the sunset as well. So daily sunshine, especially in the morning to like wake myself up, or watching a sunset at night just to like relax and be like, okay, cool. I'm here. This was a great day, blah, 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 blah. Or just actually be in the moment. And
Mm,
steps, like steps are so underrated. Like obviously going from being a PT and like walking around the gym floor all the time to running the business full time, like from my desk, I'm like, oh my gosh, you just don't move. But I make sure like I work in 25-minute blocks. It's called the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of it?
okay. No.
I love it. So I'll work for 25-minute blocks. I'll have a 5-minute break where I literally get up and walk around, and I try not to go on my phone. Then I sit down for another 25 minutes. I think Jim Quick actually talks about it, and he says like
Okay.
your brain can literally only focus for 25 minutes. So I was like, yeah. So like I would say sleep, sunshine, and steps, like the three S's. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, Tilly, listen, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are really intrigued and they're going to want to know more information. They're going to know, where they can find more content from you. How can people get in touch?
So the best way to get in touch with me is my Instagram, Tilly Johnston, and we're actually we're currently building a website as well for my business where we'll be able to offer all services. So my business is top tier coaching, and
Hmm.
then my personal brand website is Tilly Johnston. So they're both in the works, but Instagram would be the main one to go to.
Yeah, fantastic. And we'll drop those links in the descriptions as well anyway. Tilly, if you haven't already and it's just a coming soon page, then definitely have like a little contact form up there. So people,
Excellent.
if they
Yeah.
want to get in touch, they can. And we'll have links to all of your socials there as well. Any final remarks? Did you want to leave our audiences with anything before we wrap it up?
I would say learn how to set boundaries. That is the best thing I ever did. And I read a lot of books around it because, like, you are your own worst enemy at the end of the day. Like, you're either your own best friend or your own worst enemy. And unfortunately, like, I was my own worst enemy. And so, learning how to set boundaries around myself and other people and filtering my life was the best thing I ever did, because that way, like, I could properly build a foundation of a healthy life around like boundaries.
I love that. That's awesome. I do love that quite a lot. Tilly, thank you so much for coming by. It's been fantastic. It's been amazing. It's a definitely a conversation that needs to be had more often among
Yeah.
others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, absolutely. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing your message. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dean. See ya.
No worries. And for everyone listening at home, in the car, in the office, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the LaunchDay Shorts podcast. If you haven't already, go and hit the subscribe button down below and leave your comments. We love comments. We love replying to comments. If you think that Tilly is wonderful, leave a comment about that. If you think Tilly is crazy and everything she's saying is a lie, then great. We're going to debate you on that. And we encourage it, right? The more you help us with the algorithm, the better. So by all means, we love you, every single one of you participating in these conversations. And that's what they are. They're conversations. So by all means, tune in again on our next episode and we'll see you there on the next one.